All right, what's up, boys? I'm back with another tier list. Today, I'm going to be talking about the biggest frauds in the UFC. Now, I don't mean necessarily get people that got fraud checked. I'm just talking about maybe one of their skills is fraudulent, or maybe the way they fight is fraudulent, or maybe their whole resume is fraudulent. It doesn't matter. We're talking about frauds. Get your comments ready. I'm about to piss some people off. Let's get right into it. First up, Roman Kopylov. He's going straight into the B tier. Started off 0-2 in the UFC. Went Got four knockouts in a row, and then everybody was like, man, this guy's the second coming of Jesus. This guy's striking to another level. And then he gets subbed by Anthony Hernandez. Smoked by Anthony Hernandez. Barely beat Cesar Almeida. Like, I get it, dude. He's the middleweight. Chase Hooper, that's his biggest claim to fame, looking like Chase Hooper, but he ain't nothing special. He got striking. Okay, big deal. So does 95% of the UFC. So this dude's never making it to the top five. He's cooked. He's overrated. And he's a fraud. So deal with it. Next up, Sadiq Yusuff in the C tier. He started off 4-0 in the UFC, but come on, dude. This dude's best win is who? Andre Philly? Got smoked by Arnold Allen. Got absolutely demolished by Diego Lopez. This dude's 33 years old. In featherweight, what is Sadiq Yusuff doing? He's never going to enter the top 10. He's cooked. Like, this guy he's just not good. I mean, who has he beat? Andre Philly? Who hasn't beat Andre Philly? I mean, Augusta Win knocks Andre Philly to the ground at this point. So, Sadiq Yusuff, I never understood the hype. I know he probably wasn't hyped up that much. That's why he's in the C tier. But either way, I'm not a fan. So he's a fraud in my opinion. Moving on. Speaking of another fraud, Adrian Yanez in the B tier. Now this guy, everybody was touting him up to be this big thing. Yeah, man, he's knocking everybody out. He knocked out Tony Kelly and Davey Grant. Ooh, big fucking whoop, dude. He got whooped up by Rob Font of all people at 36 years old. Got outboxed and KO'd by Rob Font. Came back and got leg kicked into oblivion by Jonathan Martinez. This dude's a fraud. His boxing's fraudulent. He ain't got no ground game. He ain't submitting nobody. He's not knocking out anybody anymore. He's cooked. Adrian Yanez, the wannabe mini Masvidal. He's good. He's all right, but he's a fraud. Come on, dude. He's not making it to the top. That's it. That's all I have to say. Speaking of a fraud, Jalin Turner. Jalin Turner's going in the A tier. This man is 13-8 in the UFC. Now, granted, he threw away his last fight. He could have won against Moicano if he wasn't trying to look cool and get style points. He was on a 5-fight finish streak when he first got into the UFC. Then he goes ahead and he loses to Gamrot, loses to Dan Hooker, and he lost to Moicano. His best win is Bobby Green, but people were hyping this dude up like, yeah, man, you stand on the feet with Jalin Turner and you might go to the shadow round. First of all, he's a weight bully. He's 6'3", fighting at lightweight, so he should be fighting at welterweight or middleweight. This dude's a huge weight bully. He probably walks in the cage at like 180, 175. Either way, Jalin Turner, overrated, doesn't have a good gas tank, low fight IQ. Sure, he has finisher potential, but that's about it. So the Tarantula, he's a fraud, bro, like it or not. I don't know what else to tell you. Speaking of another fraud, Benoit Saint Denis, another fraud. He's a fraud. He got chin checked by Dustin Poirier, knocked out cold. I don't care if he has staff. He has no head movement. I mean, this dude, who's his best win? Against Matt Frivola and Thiago Moises, two washed up lightweights in their mid 30s. I mean, Thiago Moises is 29, 30 maybe, but who hasn't beat Thiago Moises at this point? He's been battered and beat up by everybody. Who hasn't beat Matt Frivola? Matt Frivola? Yeah, okay. He head kick KO'd Matt Frivola. Big whoop. Benoit Saint Denis. I wouldn't be surprised if he lost to Moicano coming up. He's a fraud. People were talking about this dude going all the way to the belt. I never saw it, but yeah, keep hyping this guy up. I mean, there's a chance he can make it maybe into the top 8, top 6, but I still think he's a fraud. Get some head movement, Benoit. You haven't been training MMA long enough to be a champion. That's just what it is, bro. Respect for you defending your country in the military, though. Moving on. Raul Rosas Jr. in the C tier. Raul Rosas, he's in the C tier today. I mean, Chee-wee-wees. Like, this dude's calling for chee-wee-wees and bonuses at the UFC Sphere. Bro, that was one of the most boring fights I've ever seen. This dude, whenever this dude strikes, he looks like he's underwater. I'm not going to lie. His face is all jacked up, which I guess he can't control that. But whenever he fought somebody who can who can stuff his grappling, like Christian Rodriguez, he got out hustled and outworked for 3 rounds and smoked. So, well, he did beat up Christian Rodriguez in the first round, but he got smoked in the second 2 rounds. I know he's only 19. That's why I have him in the C tier. But he's a fraud, bro. I don't care if you're only 19 at the same time, because where's your striking at, bro? This dude has no striking, no knockout power. I mean, who is Raul Rosas Jr. chinning on the feet? No, absolutely nobody. He has a good ground game, and that's it. So, and he's a fraud for asking for 50K at the Sphere. So that right there is fraudulent, bro. Don't ever ask for a bonus fighting like that again. Anyways, moving right along, the saltiest man, Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer in the B tier. Joe Pyfer got outboxed by Jack Hermanson of all people. Jack the Joker, supposed to be the submission artist Hermanson. He got outboxed. This dude just touted as, oh man, this guy beat Francis Ngannou's punching record. Like, no, dude. Joe Pyfer? Like, bro, Joe Pyfer? Yeah, he beat Gerald Meerschaert and Abdul Razak Hassan by submission, but big whoop. Who hasn't beat Gerald Meerschaert at this point? I mean, Gerald Meerschaert was KO'd by Khamzat Chimaev back in the Stone Age. I mean, I get GM3 still getting wins and respect, but Joe Pyfer, bro, he's just a big, strong, salty dude. So Joe Pyfer, the salty man in the B tier, he got fraud checked, and he is a fraud. So I don't think Joe Pyfer gets in the top 10. I don't. I think he gets beat again by most people unless he's fighting cans. So Joe Pyfer, respect. He made it to UFC, a comeback story. He had a hard life. Dana White helped him out, but in the B tier you go, buddy. Speaking of one of the biggest frauds, Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's going S tier. I'm sorry. I don't care if he just beat Bobby Green. Bobby Green is washed up. Bobby Green's been knocked out by Dustin Poirier. He's been knocked out by Drew Dober. He's been sent through the octagon by Jalin Turner. Submitting Bobby Green is not impressive. I'm sorry. It's just not. Paddy Pimblett lost to Jared Gordon. Just take a second. Journeyman Jared Gordon. Paddy Pimblett lost to him. So I don't care if you think, like, Bedtime MMA is talking about how Paddy Pimblett's going to go on a title run. Bro, you are absolutely cooked for even thinking that for a second. Paddy Pimblett, the second he fights anybody inside the top 15 that's not Bobby Green, he's getting cooked. Mark my words. He's not beating Moicano. He's not beating Benoit St. Denis, even though I just called him a fraud. Paddy Pimblett is the fraud of frauds. Like, his striking is not good. It's just not. Like, I don't care if he outstruck, quote-unquote, Bobby Green. Bobby Green needs to retire. I mean, the dude changed his name to King at 37. That shows high levels of CTE. Paddy Pimblett, S tier. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. People come back to this video and say, oh, Paddy made the champion. But no, Paddy's if he's lucky, he'll sniff the top 10. If he's lucky. But he's a fraud, in my opinion, in the S tier. Speaking of another fraud, he's going S tier. Sergei Pavlovich. Now, I know he's number, 3-4 in the division. But the reason I'm putting him in S tier is because I feel like his power was fraudulent. Let me explain. He doesn't have like one-shot knockout power like everybody was saying. Go back and watch his fights. Who did Sergei Pavlovich one-shot KO? Nobody. He was always knocked to the ground and then TKO, which fair enough. But everybody was acting like Sergei Pavlovich, if he taps you, bro, you're going to sleep. Like, not necessarily true. He got pieced up for 3 rounds by Volkov. Volkov was able to take some shots off of him. He got destroyed in the first round by Tom Aspinall. So the reason I'm calling Sergei Pavlovich a fraud is because he was supposed to be the most powerful heavyweight ever in history. Now, I think that belongs to Tom Aspinall, and he's proven that. So Sergei Pavlovich, brother, sorry, you're a fraud. You're in the S tier. Moving on, another S tier. Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal in the S tier. Bro, he struggled to take down Cody Brundage. Like, bro, Cody Brundage is like a Starbucks barista. Like, this dude is just a random. And who he beat? Val Woodburn? Who the hell is Val Woodburn? Half the people that watch the UFC couldn't tell me who Val Woodburn is. I can. That's who he is. Bo Nickal knocked him out. Ooh, big whoop. And then Bo Nickal was talking about how he can out-wrestle Khamzat Chimaev. Yeah, okay. Maybe if it was a pure freestyle wrestling match, sure. But in an MMA octagon, Bo Nickal gets ragdolled by Khamzat and submitted in under 2 minutes. Bo Nickal, I love you, dude. You're entertaining to watch, but come on, dude. You're a fraud. You couldn't barely take down Cody Brundage, who's terrible, so I don't know what else to say. And I'm ready in the comments. Y'all go ahead and get ready to call me a casual because I'm ready for it. So hit me with it. Next up, Mike Malott, B tier. Mike Malott, an absolute joke, bro. I don't care if he came up knocking out and submitting everybody in the UFC. Name one person Mike Malott beat? You can't. Nobody can name him because nobody knows the guys he beat. He got fraud checked of all people by Neil Magny, dude. The Haitian sensation. Neil Magny's like one of the worst fighters in the ranked in the welterweight division, and Mike Malott lost to Neil Magny of all people. That was so embarrassing. Like, this dude was supposed to be the next Canadian prospect, supposed to be the next big thing out of Canada. Who's his biggest win? Mickey Gall? Oh, look at that. I named one guy he beat. Mickey Gall. Bro, who hasn't beat Mickey Gall at this point? I mean, dude. Mike Malott, he's a joke. He got finished by Neil Magny. That right there deserves A tier. I don't know what else. If you get finished by Neil Magny at this stage in his career, you're a fraud. And that's that. Next up on the tier list, moving on, Gamrot. Now, Gamrot is a fraud because people are like, oh man, don't sleep on Gamrot's submissions. Bro, who has Gamrot submitted in the UFC? Who? Jeremy Stevens, like 20 years ago? Bro, nobody cares. Jeremy Stevens is in bare knuckle boxing or wherever the hell he is. Nobody cares. Gamrot just lost to a 34-year-old busted up Dan Hooker. This dude is the definition of a fraud. He fluked his way to a win over Rafael Fiziev with a leg injury. So we need to start calling him Scamrot. Gamrot, he got pieced up by Dariush. Bro, look what Oliveira and Arman did to Dariush. Sent him to the Shadow Realm. So Gamrot, he doesn't have good submissions. He has good scrambles and grappling, and that's about it. Good wrestling, but he does not have good submissions. So everybody's saying he has good submissions. Just stop. Because who has he submitted besides Jeremy Stevens? Nobody. So he's a fraud in the A tier. Everybody knows he's a fraud. Moving on. Speaking of the man that he fluked against, Rafael Fiziev going in the B tier. Fiziev, he's a fraud because people act like his striking is like, oh man, this dude's Muay Thai is like the best ever. Like if you see Rafael Fiziev strike, you're gonna see some incredible striking, world class. No, 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 no. Dude, Rafael Fiziev got pieced up by Justin Gaethje, and look what Max Holloway did to Justin Gaethje. He made him look like an amateur. Rafael Fiziev, first of all, he should move down to 145 because he's too small for lightweight. But Rafael Fiziev striking is very overrated. He barely beat Bobby Green. And I get it. Bobby Green could be a slick striker, but like I said, dude, Bobby Green's chinny, and Bobby Green has CTE. The dude changed his name to King at age 37. Who hasn't beat Bobby Green at this point? I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby Green goes on a Tony Ferguson losing streak. So Rafael Fiziev, unless you can prove me wrong coming back off your injury, buddy, your striking just ain't that great. It's good, but he has no pop in his shots. Who he's knocked out? RDA? Big whoop. Like, come on, dude. Rafael Fiziev in the B tier. I think he just looks tough, so people are like, yeah, he looks tough, so he must have good striking because he has a Muay Thai background. No, no, no. It's not going to cut it today, buddies. So he's going in the B tier. Next up, Movsar Evloev. Movsar in the C tier. And the only reason I'm putting him in the C tier is because he hasn't lost yet. But I think Movsar's a fraud. He doesn't have any finishing threat. He has all decision wins in the UFC. And I love that Ilya Zaporia called him out about that when he called out Ilya Zaporia. Ilya was like, let me see a finish. Right, bro. Movsar lost to Arnold Allen. We all know it. He didn't beat Arnold Allen. He's cooked. He's absolutely boring to watch. He just crotch sniffs for 5 rounds and wins a decision. But I think he's a fraud because I think once he fights anybody who has some power that's not Diego Lopez on short notice, they're going to crack his chin and put him out. I think Ilya Taporia smokes him. I think Max Holloway smokes him. And I think Diego Lopez smokes him in a rematch. So Movsar's a fraud. You can hate in the comments and call me a casual, but I think he's a fraud because I think he's blown up to be better than he is because he's Russian, and that's that. And his last name ends with V. I mean, that's really all I can say. So let's move on. Speaking of another fraud, Josh Emmett. I'm putting him in the A tier. Josh Emmett's in the A tier because he found himself, Josh Emmett of all people, found himself in an interim title fight with Yair Rodriguez. How the hell did Josh Emmett ever get to an interim title fight? This dude was never anywhere near championship caliber, ever. I mean, Josh Emmett literally just throws hooks for 5 rounds. He has no ground game. He has no submissions, literally no grappling whatsoever, a little defensive wrestling, and his striking is atrocious outside of his hooks. So Josh Emmett, I know he just sent Bryce Mitchell season to believe in the earth is flat even more, but that doesn't matter, bro. Josh Emmett, he's cool. He's a nice guy, but he got twisted into a pretzel by Yair. We saw that, and then he got absolutely butchered by Ilya Zaporia. And sure, he came back and knocked out Bryce Mitchell, but bro, Bryce Mitchell was just not a good fighter. So I can't even call Bryce Mitchell a fraud because he just never was good in the first place. Josh Emmett, like, dude, he made it. Keep that in mind, bro. Josh Emmett made it to an interim title fight at featherweight. That's crazy to me. Imagine if Josh Emmett fought Volk. He would have got absolutely annihilated. You get the point. Josh Emmett, one of the biggest frauds ever. One of the most unskilled fighters to fight in an interim title fight. I like Josh Emmett, but we know he's a fraud. So let's move along. Robelis Despaigne, he's going S tier because this guy is one of the biggest fraud checks in history. This dude lost to Waldo Cortez Acosta. He has overrated power. Cortez Acosta came forward and took all of his shots and pretty much laughed at him and just beat him up on the ground. And then he was all hyped up because he had the longest reach in UFC history. I think at 87 inches, and he's a Cuban kickboxer. Like, bro, I don't care about none of that. You want to show me something? Do what Tom Aspinall does. Smoke everybody you fight. No, Robelis Despaigne, the second he was met with any grappling, because he's a kickboxer, he got smoked by Waldo Cortez Acosta. So it was embarrassing. S tier. He's a fraud. I don't care what you think. It's my opinion, so deal with it. Next up, Grant Dawson going in the B tier. I mean, no, the A tier. Grant Dawson, dude, I mean, he got KO'd by Bobby Green in the first round. If that don't tell you something, I know Bobby Green has a little pop, but Bobby Green's not known to knock everybody out, dude. Who has Bobby Green knocked out? Think about it. Not really many people. Sure, he has slick striking, but he's not knocking out too many people these days. So for Grant Dawson to smudge grapple his way to what was a 20-1 record and then get KO'd by Bobby Green was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Grant Dawson's another fighter that looks like he's never trained striking a day in his life. His striking looks like he's stepping on Legos trying to throw punches. Grant Dawson, dude, you're cool. You're boring as hell. Thank goodness you didn't get to the belt because, oh my God, the lightweight division would have been cooked. But you're a fraud. You're in the A tier. I don't think you're ever making it to the top 10. You're just not well rounded enough. And yeah, Grant Dawson was never really my friend, as Dana White would say. Moving on to the last fighter on this list, we're going with Giga, the egghead Chikadze. We're going to put Giga in the B tier. Now, Giga is super overrated because they're talking about, man, Giga Chikadze has crazy kicks, the Giga kick and the body kicks and an amazing striking. Bro, this dude got pieced up by Arnold Allen and got destroyed by Calvin Kattar. Now think about it. Max Holloway literally turned Calvin Kattar into a punching bag, landed like 700 punches on him. And then Calvin Kattar went and did what he did to Giga Chikadze. What does that make Max? Imagine if Max fought Giga. Dude, that'd be like, they would have to, somebody would be arrested for that fight. But he has absolutely no ground game. He's like 35, 36 years old. He's washed up. He has an egghead. So sorry, Giga. You're a nice guy. You talked a bit of shit. I remember at one point he was calling out Volkanovski saying Volk was scared. Well, buddy, now you're washed. So maybe you should have watched out you was talking to. But yeah, Giga Chikadze in the B tier. Let me know who else is cooked in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Did I roast your favorite fighter? Did I hurt your feelings a little bit? Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.